So welcome to our short summary video on our new paper exploring the effects of water deficit on floral traits and plant-pollinator interactions. So very roughly, drought or reduced water availability can directly affect plant and pollinator species. For example, if due to drought events or unsuitable climate conditions, population sizes decreases, this then of course affects the interactions of these species as well. But also there can be an indirect effect. So if, for example, floral traits are changed due to drought conditions, that then of course affects also flower visitor interactions if these traits are actually mediating these interactions. And such traits are including morphology, phenology, rewards, so scent and pollen, as well as color and scent. And this is what we looked in this paper. So at this indirect effects of water availability, floral traits, and flower visitor interactions. And in total, we had 4 objectives. So first, we want to summarize the current knowledge of the effects of reduced water availability on floral traits and flower visitor interactions. And there we had some clear expectations. So very roughly, we expected a mean decrease in flower size, number of flowers, flower rewards, as well as flower visitor interactions. The more detailed description and reasoning behind this are explained in the paper. And so what we find is that actually several measurements of floral size showed a mean decrease, as well as number of flowers and flower longevity, which had a quite small sample size. For nectar, we also found a mean decrease in the volume, but no changes in the sugar content or the amount of sugar concentration. And also the pollen number did not change. For floral scents, we also find no decrease in the mean decrease in the total scent emission, but there were shifts in the composition, which usually had an increase in common volatiles. And also for flower visitor interactions, we didn't find any changes in the mean visitation rates. But of course, other factors like flower handling time or pollen transfer might be affected, but this is largely unexplored. But as you can see, we have largely a lot of heterogeneity in these results. So this is actually our second objective. So to explore factors which explain heterogeneity between different studies. And one important factor seems to be the study type. So the greenhouse study, climate chamber study, or field study. And also the timing of the water stress seems important. So plants which are stressed at the beginning of flowering seem to be more strongly affected than plants which were stressed earlier. Maybe because if they're stressed early, plants can still adapt to these new conditions. What was actually the tricky part was that it's not straightforward to compare stress levels between different studies. As often, soil moisture content is used within a study to compare treatment, which works great there, but the comparison between studies is more difficult because the water availability not also depends on soil moisture content, but also on the soil type. So the same soil moisture content on 2 different soil types actually may have different water availability for different plant species. And so, for our third objective, there are several metadata which actually, if reported and measured, help to increase the comparability between studies. And this is, of course, one plant species, the life cycle of the plant species, or how resistant the plant species is to drought. There, for example, Togo loss point can be used as a proxy for this. And then, of course, the timing and magnitude of water deficit, which can also be measured via proxies like leaf water potential or water use efficiency, which is kind of an indicator how stressed the plant is. And then, of course, experimental design plays also a role. And so a more detailed reporting of these 3 factors as well as associated variables will make it much more easier to actually compare stress levels and results between studies. And so last, we also indicate some future directions and promising knowledge gaps, which you can find at the end of the paper. So overall, we are consistently increasing our knowledge on how reduced water availability and drought affects plants, pollinators, floral traits, as well as then their interactions and so pollination. So far, the current knowledge points towards that actually flowers are getting smaller, but that the responses for phenology, scent, as well as rewards are much more variable, which can be partly attributed to small sample sizes, as well as differences in water stress levels between studies. So therefore, we encourage researchers to actually measure and provide more metadata to increase the comparability between studies, and then to create a better understanding of the ecological effects on droughts on floral traits and plant-pollinator interactions. And plant-pollinator interactions are so most likely changing through these changes in floral traits, but this might not be necessarily reflected in the overall vegetation rate, but also in things like flower handling, behavior in the flower, pollen transfer, and then pollination efficiency and pollination success. So thank you for watching and have a nice day.